My name is Mr. Donwanzen Jerry of the Department of Geology and Mining at Sarah State University, Cafe. I'll be taking you GEM221, that's Invertebrate Paleontology, alongside Mrs. H.O. Osman. Today we shall be looking at brachiopods, and of course in the outline we'll be looking at the introduction, what is brachiopoda. We shall also look at the systematic paleontology of brachiopods, the morphology of brachiopods, evolution of brachiopods, the geological significance of brachiopods, and then there will be a take-home assignment. Fossils are the remains of the past life, which are commonly preserved in sedimentary rocks. Earliest fossil record shows that life existed about 3.8 million years before the present. Of course, paleontology is the study of ancient life through the examination of fossils. Paleontology uses fossils to reconstruct the history of life on Earth, and some use fossils to look for changes in ecology and climate. The abundance, diversity, and wide range of habitats of invertebrate fossils make them an ideal resource for paleontologists to use in learning geological history of the Earth. The Cambrian, or the early Paleozoic, was largely confined to the marine realm, in which brachiopods form one of the major components in addition to some others. Hence, it is true to say that the life history of this group of invertebrates is considerably long, about 514 years. Brachiopoda is an independent phylum of invertebrates. The name Brachiopoda is derived from Latin words brachium, meaning arm, and poda meaning fruit, which gave its name to the phylum and fruit. Brachiopods are commonly known as lamb shells because these shells have some resemblance to Roma oil lambs. Of course, all brachiopods are sessile, they are benthic, solitary marine animals having shells made up of two unequal valves and live on the seafloor, usually in clusters. So many of them remain fixed to the seafloor while others just lie on the seabed. They are filter feeders and collect their food particles from ocean currents by using the longfurfur. They've been found living in a range of marine environments, from shallow marine to deep marine and warm tropical waters to cold Antarctic seas. So the presence of brachiopod fossils in sedimentary rocks indicate ancient marine conditions. The brachiopod shells are made up of the mineral calcite. They consist of two unequal valves that enclose its body tissue, such as the mantle, the longfurfur, the pedicle, and the muscles. The two valves vary in size and morphology and are joined together in two different ways, either by hinge or by muscles. So based on the nature of joining the two valves, the brachiopods were previously grouped into classes, that is the articulata and the inarticulata. So this is shells of typical brachiopods, and then this is the schematic of a living brachiopod, showing the position of the pedicle. Of course, you see the two valves, the position of two valves. The pedicle valves are the ventral, and the brachial valve are the dorsal. Systematic paleontology of brachiopods. Of course, the brachiopods are classified under kingdom Animalia, subkingdom Metazoa, phylum Brachiopoda, subphyla. We have the Linguliformia, the Craniformia, and the Reconiliformia. This table shows the simplified characteristics of the three subphyla of brachiopods. Of course, they are characterized on the basis of the shell chemistry, the valve joining system, and the pedicle. So for the Linguliformia, the shell chemistry is composed of organophosphatic materials. And as for the valve system, the Linguliformia valves are not joined by teeth and socket mechanism. And of course, pedicle is always present. For the class Craniformia, they are calcareous in terms of chemistry. In the valve joining system, of course, the valves are not joined by teeth and socket joining mechanism. For the pedicle in the craniformia, you see that the pedicle is reduced or is absent. Then for the ring corneliformia, of course, the shell chemistry is calcareous, majorly, of course, made of calcite. For the valves, joining system, valves are joined by teeth and socket joining mechanism, and pedicle is usually present. Morphology of brachiopods. The shell of a brachiopod consists of two valves which are held together either by teeth and socket. Most especially, this is seen in the rincorneliformians or the articulates, or they are joined by muscles, that is for the lingualiformians and the craniformians, or simply the inarticulates. So the two valves of brachiopods are morphologically quite different, especially in terms of size, shape, and orientation. However, in typical brachiopods, each valve is bilaterally symmetrical and one valve is always larger than the other. So the larger valve is commonly known as the pedicle or the ventral valve. The smaller valve is known as brachia or the dorsal valve. It contains the leuphorphore, a fugatory organ, along with its support. So leuphorphore has two arms called brachia, which give the name to the valve. In articulate brachiopods, the opening and closing of the valves are controlled by two sets of muscles, namely the deductor and the adductor muscle cars. The deductor muscle cars open the valves while adductor muscle cars close the valves. There is another set of muscle cars that are present on the pedicle valve known as adjuster muscle cars. So this is the schematics of brachiopod showing the external morphology. Of course, you can see the beak, which is the pedicle opening, called the pedicle valve. You can see the brachial valve. You can see the commusion. So all this show the external morphology of brachiopod. Look at the figure 1.4, which shows the dorsal view of the brachiopod showing the internal morphology of the pedicle valve. You see the pedicle foramen, that is the opening at which the animal brings out the pedicle, maybe for attachment, maybe to the substrate or to the bottom of the sea. See the teeth, see the adjuster muscle scars, as discussed earlier, see the deductor muscle scars. Evolution of brachiopods. Brachiopods have a very long evolutionary history because they first appeared near the beginning of the Cambrian period, and some of the forms are still alive today on the floor of the modern oceans. They diversified in the Ordovician and reached the peak of their diversity during the Ordovician, Silurian, and the Devonian. Cambrian faunas were dominated by the inarticulates and Ordovician by articulate brachiopods. They remained a dominant community in the marine ecosystem throughout the Paleozoic era. At the end of the Paleozoic, many brachiopod families became extinct and only a very few of them made the transition to the post-Paleozoic, that is the Mesozoic and the Cenozoic times. The brachiopods faced five major events of extinction which were followed by events of recoveries and diversifications. These events are end Ordovician, late Devonian, end Permian, end Triassic, and end Cretaceous mass extinctions. Out of these three events, namely the end Ordovician, the end Permian, and the end Cretaceous, were very severe events which caused about 80%, more than 90%, and around 70% extinction among brachiopods at family and species levels, respectively. So, as a result of such extinction events, out of 4,500 fossil genera of brachiopods, only 120 are living today, while all others have gone extinct. So, this table shows the geological range of some orders of brachiopods. For the class Lingualiformia, so we have orders such as the Lingulida. The geological range is between Cambrian to recent, and of course the important genera under this class of Cyphalum is the Lingula, the Obolus, the Pseudolingula. Then we have the class Craniformia. We have others such as the Cranida, and the geological range, of course, for the cranial is between the Ordovician and to the recent. The important genera under the subphylum are the crania, the nicocranial. Then we have the Rhynchoniliformia. Of course, we have others such as the Obolilida. Of course, the geological range is mainly of Cambrian, and then the important genera is Obolelila, the Trematobolus, and then we have the other Strophomenida under the Rhynchoniliformia. The geological range is between the Ordovician to Triassic, and we have important genera such as the Billingzella, the Eleoptodonta, and then we have the other Productida under Rhynchoniliformia, and of course the geological range is between the Ordovician to Triassic. We have such important genera under this as Productus, we have Gigantoproductus, then we have Otida, which is of course an order under the Rhynchoniliformia. We have the geological range between Cambrian to Permian, and then you have genera such as the Ortis, the Dalmanella, and we have the Pentamerida. The geological range is between the Cambrian to Devonian. We have important genera such as the Pentamerus, the Strichlandia, and then we have Rhyncholinida. Of course, the geological range is between Ordovician to recent. We have important genera such as Rhyncholinella, Wilsonia, and then we have the other Spiriferida, and the geological range is between the Ordovician to recent. Such genera as Rhyncholinella, Wilsonia. So we have, of course, like the Spiriferida, the Ordovician, the range is between the Ordovician to Permian, and we have important genera such as the Spirifa, the Mucrospirifa. Then we have the class 30B to Lida, the geological range between Devonian to recent, and we have important genera such as the Terebratella and the Magellania. This is the stratigraphic distribution of brachiopods. Of course, the width of the column represents the abundance or diversity of brachiopods in a particular period or era. Of course, you can see that they diversify more, they blossom more in the early Paleozoic, of course, between the Cambrian, to Permian periods, and of course we saw their decline between the Triassic to the late Cretaceous, and then they begin to boom again around the early Quaternary. So, geological significance of brachiopods. The geological importance of brachiopods lies in their role as valuable fossils that provide critical insights into Earth's history and geological processes. Here is a description of their geological significance. One, they serve as very important environmental indicators. So the distribution of different species of brachiopods is closely tied to specific environmental conditions. Some brachiopods species are associated with shallow marine environments, while others are indicative of deep water settings. They also help in paleoclimatic reconstruction. So changes in the distribution of brachiopods species over time can offer insight into past climatic variations. And then they also find importance in tectonic history. Brachiopods fossils can be used to infer past tectonic movements and changes in continental positions. We have stratigraphic and biostratigraphic application. Brachiopods are excellent index fossils, meaning that they have well documented evolutionary histories and existed during specific geological time periods. Also, biodiversity and evolutionary studies. Brachiopods have a long evolutionary history dating back to early Paleozoic era, which make them suitable for evolutionary studies. This take-home assignment, um, look at the specimen provided, For question, what environment range does the above fossil occupy? 2. Make a simple sketch of the sample above. From the front, that is the side are open. Identify the plane of symmetry on your sketches. 3. What type of symmetry does this fossil have? 4. Describe how this fossil was preserved and name the preservation type. 5. Which morphological characteristics, that is, which aspect of the shape of the sample indicates the strength of the shell? Thank you very much, and endeavor to attend classes, for this cannot completely substitute your physical classes. See you in our next class. Thank you.